If you have spent sufficient time in the MGTOW sphere, it is highly likely that you have become familiar with this term at some point. Since feminism and genocentrism have taken control of the modern world, there are now more leftover women than ever before, especially in the nations of Western Europe, but also in other countries. In fact, the origin of this idea can be traced back to China. You did indeed hear that correctly. This phrase refers to unmarried women in their late 20s and 30s who place a higher value on their education and careers than they do on dating. You might want to look up documentaries after watching this video, but by the time you're done, you'll have a good idea of what it's like to be one of these women and why they're the most miserable segment of the population. It is anticipated that by the year 2030, 45% of working women in the age range of 25 to 45 will not be married and will not have children. Modern society, on the other hand, might praise them for reaching what seems like a big milestone. The question is, do they look sad or do they have a sour attitude? If we look at the numbers and the statistics, the answer is easy to see. Did you know that investors are overjoyed because they have figured out where their money should be going, specifically in boxed wine and cat toys? Oh, and let's not forget antidepressants. Stay tuned, because more information on this trend and how it's making them feel uncomfortable with men living happy lives regardless will soon be shared with you. It's possible that some people will believe there's nothing wrong with giving women more leeway to make their own decisions. Don't get it twisted. I was in no way trying to imply that we should go back to arranged marriages or that women have no place outside the home. Just like Burger King said. Having said all of that, I really hope what I have to say is understandable. So, without further ado, let us begin. Are these women going to be content with their lives if they do not have children and do not have a partner? In spite of the fact that their ideology suggests that being single and in charge of a company is a great combination, this is not the case in practice. They may have a lot of money and a lot of expensive bags, but those things will not bring them happiness, even though they were bought with money that they had worked hard for. They bought into the notion that leading a life that was characterized by one's ability to stand on one's own 2 feet would be an amazing way to live. But the feeling of isolation will come sooner or later, once her female friends start having children and disconnect themselves from that lie. She remembers all of a sudden that women over 35 have a harder time getting pregnant, which adds to her growing sense of being alone. It is possible that if she ever gets pregnant, she will have a miscarriage, which will cause their depression to become even more severe. Then she turns to things like antidepressants and boxed wine to help her feel better. Investors take advantage of her situation to make tens of thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars. You made money, honey. Best of luck to you. I know it sounds depressing, but that's the way it is. In addition to that, all of those hours spent working in the office don't usually pay off because she wastes a lot of money on things that she doesn't require. She has become just another corporate slave as a result of the narrative of the rat race and the pressure to keep up with the Joneses. The so-called liberation turned out to be oppression and, in many cases, slavery to the whims of others, including men and the overlords of society. Permit me to be objective because, despite the fact that I'm describing the bigger picture to you, some of the women did act with the best of intentions. Leftover women in China are shamed in public because they put their careers before dating and marriage. The Chinese government is spreading a lot of propaganda to try to get them to change their minds. In no way, shape, or form do I support the use of these extreme measures. MGTOW has nothing to do with forcing one's beliefs on other people in any way. As a MGTOW, it is preferable to lead a life that is authentically independent and full of joy. And this is another concern that a modern society has. Now that men are having trouble finding women who are willing to commit themselves to them, they would rather be with their brothers, and even live with them, than with anyone else. When men are in a place that is seen as masculine, they are more likely to try to get better and hold each other accountable. That is the true power, and it is for this reason that you need to take care of your network before you start dating and spreading your seed. While many men fail to remember their friends because they put their wives ahead of them in importance, they are more mindful of the relationships they have with other men now that they have learned from their past mistakes. Even so, many women get so caught up in being a single lady that they forget about their own health. They are taken aback when they realize there is no one to comfort them in their time of need. As a result, they frequently use dating apps in the hopes of finding a prince charming in a small town who will provide them with everything they've ever wanted. If you've ever used a dating app, you've probably already come across some of them. The fact that all of that time spent getting to know themselves better and having fun wasn't really worth it, because they tend to follow the same pattern and, in some cases, have high body counts is evidence of this. Every one of those bad boys to whom she was drawn did not commit any crimes. As a result, she has concluded that all she ever desired was a nice guy. However, the type of man she desires is either dating more fertile women or is simply focused on his purpose. In addition to this, women who are left-handed have a greater propensity to have a strong desire to always be right. In fact, a picture of how things were in China was shown in an article about the same subject. As a result of China's one-child policy, the country's population is shrinking, and today there are more men than women. Things are getting so difficult that there are markets in Beijing for people looking to get married, where parents look for potential partners for their children to date. Chu, a leftover woman who believes that she was happiest when she was single and stayed focused on her career as a lawyer, serves as the article's protagonist. Chu believes that she was happy in those times. However, one of the mothers in this market did not accept her due to the nature of her work. This woman's mother gave her the assurance that she could file a lawsuit against her family. Chu said that many people thought that leftover women, especially those with college degrees, were tough, disobedient, bossy, and unwilling to do what their husbands told them to do. In particular, people believed that leftover women with a degree must be very bossy. Because so many of the women who were left behind continued to work full-time, this mother's point of view is not completely out of the question. It is a fact that they become different types of careers for different types of people, and that leftover women have a lot in common. Therefore, none of them are suitable for dating or marriage. As I previously stated, it is not my intention to promote what the Chinese government does as a MGTOW, so please do not misinterpret what I am saying. I despise totalitarians. Because of this, I don't want to force anyone to do things they don't want to do. What I want to emphasize is how miserable the women who were left behind are. In fact, the vast majority of them have been sucked into modern feminism. So society is getting worse, people are becoming more alone, and it's getting easier to keep control over society. If you take a look at the world around you, it won't take you long to realize that the establishment wants miserable people, particularly men and women who are always at odds with one another. Sadly, getting married does not appear to be a viable option, and the majority of men would rather wait until this insanity is over, which is a way of thinking that is both reasonable and beneficial. It is now up to you to proceed. What other characteristics do you believe women who have been left behind have? Have you ever talked to any of them in person? To give your support, click the thumbs up button. Please leave a comment below if you would like to see more videos like this one. Be sure to give it to the guys who are in the most precarious need of it.